Pennsylvania Governor Tom Wolf recently vetoed a bill that would have banned Down syndrome discrimination abortions. Wolf, a Democrat, vetoed a bill that would have placed a ban on abortion due to a prenatal diagnosis of Down syndrome. Supporters of the bill argued it would protect a vulnerable population. But Wolf said in a statement that he had, quote, significant concerns that enforcement of this legislation would upend the doctor-patient relationship and impede on patient confidentiality. Pennsylvania law currently permits abortion up to 24 weeks for any reason except to select a specific gender. Joining us now from Harrisburg is Pennsylvania State Representative Kate Klunk, the prime sponsor of this bill. Representative, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much, Gracie, for having me today.
Tell us why you decided to sponsor this bill.
Well, this bill is very important to the lives of those individuals living with Down syndrome, not only here in Pennsylvania, but across the world. I have heard from countless families and individuals living with Down syndrome and really have been able to see that they are lives worth living. So after meeting with them, I decided to be the prime sponsor this year on this bill, seeing this bill through not only the House, but the Senate. And unfortunately, we didn't get the end result that we wanted here in Pennsylvania with the governor's veto, but we're still going to be continuing to fight on.
But Governor Wolf claimed that there isn't any evidence that this bill is needed in Pennsylvania. Why is this bill needed?
This bill is needed because of the countless families who I have met. And I actually just met an uncle of a beautiful little girl who has Down syndrome, and he thanked me for my advocacy on this bill. We need this bill to protect these children because I feel that if we don't stand up for life and we don't stand up for these children, we're going to be going back to a very dark day in our human history. And I just don't want that to be the Pennsylvania or the United States that my daughter, my little Gracie at home, who's soon going to be 2, gets to live in.
Pennsylvania law permits abortion up to 24 weeks for any reason except gender discrimination. Wouldn't banning abortion after a Down syndrome diagnosis also protect against discrimination?
Yes, it does. I would argue that if you choose to abort a child because of a Down syndrome diagnosis, you are discriminating against them in the womb before they're even born, just because they have that extra chromosome. And I would argue that that extra chromosome brings it with a lot of extra positives that I've been able to see through my advocacy on this bill.
So what's your message to Governor Wolf about his veto?
Well, I'm really disheartened by his choice to veto this bill. This bill passed in a bipartisan, overwhelming manner. And I really do believe that the people of Pennsylvania are on our side with this. I will not grow weary, though, over this veto. We will stand ready to continue the fight. The families and individuals living with Down syndrome and those babies who need a voice need us. So one day there will be a governor here in Pennsylvania, and it's clearly not going to be Governor Tom Wolf. But when there is, we're going to stand ready to pass this bill so it can become the law of the land. But Gracie, I'm not surprised that the governor vetoed this. You know, he has received countless donations from Planned Parenthood for his campaign, and they've also admitted that they have pumped in millions of dollars to help him not only get elected, but recently get reelected. So unfortunately, the families and the individuals living with Down syndrome don't have that kind of a pack behind them, but they have individuals like me standing up for them and all of my friends here in the House and the Senate who stood up for life that day and put up that yes vote.
Well, it seems clear to me, Kate, that you are going to try to pass this legislation again.
We will continue to fight. We have to. These lives are worth living, and we need to stand up and be their voice.
Kate, I heard that you chose a certain Bible verse when you were sworn in. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, it's a passage from Galatians, and the point is that you do not grow weary when things just don't go your way. That keep persevering, and someday you will reap the benefits of all of your hard work and labor. And we will continue to work hard on this bill. One day it will become the law of the land here in Pennsylvania, and until that day, we will continue working hard for those living and those in the womb with Down syndrome.
Pennsylvania State Representative Kate Klunk. Thank you, Kate.
Thank you so much.
Joining us now in studio is Marilyn Musgrave, Vice President of Government Affairs for the Susan B. Anthony List. Marilyn, thank you for being here.
It's wonderful to be here. Thank you.
Marilyn, tell us about Representative Klunk's pro-life leadership.
Well, we are so proud of her. She's just the kind of woman we need leading on life in a state legislature. She's part of our National Pro-Life Women's Caucus, and she's a powerful leader on life, especially now thinking of unborn children with Down syndrome that have a lethal discrimination against them taking place. So we're very proud of her and her efforts on behalf of the precious unborn child.
And what do you make of Governor Wolf's veto of this law?
Well, it's very disheartening. It's very disappointing. We do know that Governor Tom Wolf, though, has vetoed other pro-life legislation. He vetoed the Pain-Capable Unborn Child Protection Act in 2017, and he also vetoed the dismemberment ban that would prevent abortions that literally tear an unborn child from limb to limb. It's so barbaric, it's hard to even talk about.
Marilyn, I'm a physician and I've had the sad experience of diagnosing babies in utero with Down syndrome and then hearing that they were aborted. How widespread and common is this practice?
Well, it's very widespread in the United States. In fact, 67% of parents that get that diagnosis go ahead and terminate their child. They have an abortion. And it's even higher in other countries. In recent months, there was news about Iceland eradicating Down syndrome. Eradicating Down syndrome?
Ridiculous.
Not at all. They had terminated the lives of precious unborn children that were diagnosed as Down syndrome. And in other countries around the world, such as France and Denmark, it's even higher than it is in the US. So while there could be life-saving research taking place, research that would make these babies healthier, instead, in many countries, and sadly in the United States, their human rights are violated in the womb.
And so you think that these legislations are necessary, these laws are necessary?
They're very necessary, and probably you know, and I know people who've been pressured to have an abortion when they've gotten the diagnosis of Down syndrome. Extreme pressure, even someone in our own family has had that. And a woman is very vulnerable, as you know, doctor, while she's pregnant. And imagine her doctor pressuring her to have an abortion because her baby has Down syndrome. It really is lethal discrimination.
And this is very common, as you said, outside the United States.
It is very common, even at higher rates than we have here.
Marilyn, how else can state lawmakers protect this vulnerable population?
Well, we would be very happy if more states would enact laws just like this. 11 states have introduced or enacted laws banning discrimination based on disability. We need more of those laws because, quite frankly, they pressure the Supreme Court to take this up. The Supreme Court has declined to hear one case like this, but saying they don't have an opinion on it. But Justice Thomas has written that it's not a settled issue and it needs to be resolved. So we're hopeful that people in this country will see the value of an unborn child. An unborn child with Down syndrome can live a very good life. As you know, all the stereotypes about Down syndrome children are being broken every day. They're some of the happiest people around us.
Marilyn Musgrave, Vice President of Government Affairs for the Susan B. Anthony List. Thank you, Marilyn.
It's good to be with you.